I learned the sound of a marriage ending was not a scream, not a slammed door, not even the crack of a ring hitting hardwood. It was the tiny click of a video file being copied onto a cheap silver USB drive at 1:17 in the morning. My name is Daniel Whitaker, 42 years old, born and raised in Ohio, a systems security engineer for a logistics company outside Columbus, the kind of man people call when a lock fails, a camera goes dark, or a warehouse door refuses to open at 3 in the morning. I fix problems for a living. For 15 years, I thought that was what made me a good husband. Rachel broke something, I repaired it. The kitchen sink leaked, I tightened the valve. Her car made a noise, I crawled under it in the driveway with a flashlight between my teeth. The mortgage came due, I paid it early. Her mother needed help moving, I rented the truck. I believe love was not fireworks. I believe love was showing up with jumper cables, receipts, and steady hands. Then I watched my wife on a garage camera I had installed 6 years earlier, standing beside Evan Cole in the soft gray light of my own house, laughing like she was somewhere she belonged, and I was the punchline she had been waiting years to tell. The video itself did not break me. By then, part of me already knew. A husband can feel the temperature drop long before he sees the snow. It was what Rachel said that made my hands go still over the keyboard. She leaned against the workbench where I kept my tools, the same bench where I had built her a set of shelves for her home office, and said, "Daniel is not even worth cheating on." Evan laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not the kind of laugh a man gives when he knows a line has gone too far. He laughed like he agreed with her. I sat in my truck outside a 24-hour gas station on the edge of town, rain tapping the windshield, laptop balanced against the steering wheel, and replayed those 7 seconds until the words stopped sounding like English and started feeling like weather inside my chest. Not worth cheating on. I had heard Rachel call me predictable. I had heard her say I was too safe, too quiet, too stuck in my routines. I had even heard the little sigh she made when I walked into rooms lately, like my presence was a light left on by mistake. But this was different. This was not frustration. This was contempt wearing my wife's voice. I did not throw the laptop. I did not drive home and demand an explanation. I did not call Evan Cole and give him the satisfaction of hearing my voice shake. I opened a new folder, copied the video, and named the file with the kind of calm that scared even me, from Megan Cole. Because Evan had a wife, too, and she was 7 months pregnant. The thing about being invisible is that it does not happen all at once. Nobody wakes up one morning and finds himself erased. It happens in little domestic ways, quiet enough to excuse, ordinary enough to survive. Rachel stopped asking how my day was and started asking if I had taken the trash out. She stopped touching my shoulder when she passed behind me in the kitchen. She stopped saving me the last cup of coffee on Sunday mornings. None of it looked like betrayal from a distance. It looked like marriage getting tired. That was the lie I kept feeding myself. I was Daniel Whitaker, 42, a man with a badge that opened secure warehouses, a work truck with jumper cables behind the seat, and a calendar full of service calls that paid for the brick house on Maple Ridge Court. I knew how to read access logs, motion alerts, and failed entry reports. I could tell you when a loading bay door opened, which employee used the keypad, and how many seconds the alarm took to reset. But in my own house, I ignored every warning light because I loved the person setting them off. Rachel used to call that dedication. Back when we were younger, she said my steadiness made her feel safe. We met at a 4th of July cookout outside Dayton, her hair pulled back, lemonade in one hand, laughing at a joke I did not hear. She liked that I listened more than I talked. I liked that she made ordinary rooms feel brighter. We build a life the way people in the Midwest do, one practical decision at a time. First an apartment near a freeway, then a used Honda, then a modest wedding with folding chairs and barbecue, then a mortgage that made my stomach twist until the first payment cleared. 15 years later, from the curb, our house still looked like success. Trimmed lawn, 2-car garage, American flag near the porch, warm lights in the windows after dark. Inside, though, the warmth had become stage lighting. Rachel smiled when neighbors waved. She laughed at company dinners. She posted anniversary pictures with captions about partnership and gratitude. Then she came home and moved around me like I was furniture she had grown tired of dusting. I kept telling myself she was stressed. Marketing deadlines, client meetings, travel, pressure. I gave her room. I cooked when she worked late. I fixed the Wi-Fi when her video calls froze. I kept the house quiet when she said she needed space. That is what a husband does when he still believes patience can save what respect has already abandoned. By the fall of our 15th year, Rachel had become an expert at being almost honest. She never said she was hiding anything. She said she was busy. She never said she did not want to be home. She said the office was demanding more from her. She never said I bored her. She said she needed to be around people who understood ambition. That word started showing up a lot. Ambition. She wore it like perfume, sharp and expensive, something meant to announce her before she entered a room. At first, I tried to admire it. Her company had promoted her to senior marketing director, and I was proud in the quiet way I had always been proud of her. I bought flowers. I made dinner reservations. I told neighbors she was killing it at work. But pride becomes lonely when it is never invited inside. Rachel started coming home after 9, then after 10, then with the soft excuse of client drinks or strategy sessions that ran long. Her phone lived face down on counters. Her passwords changed. Her laugh changed, too. That was the one that bothered me most. It got lighter, younger, the kind of laugh she used to give me when we were 27 and broke and eating takeout on the floor of our first apartment. Now I heard it from the laundry room while she stood on the back porch, speaking low into her phone, one hand wrapped around a glass of white wine like it was keeping her steady. I would step into the kitchen, and she would end the call with a smile already prepared. Just work, she would say. Always just work. Then came the new clothes. Not dramatic enough to accuse, just enough to notice. A charcoal dress I had never seen. A pair of heels that clicked across our hardwood like they had somewhere better to be. A silver bracelet she bought herself and forgot to mention. When I complimented her, she looked surprised, almost irritated, like I had touched something that no longer belonged to me. I began to understand how a house can stay clean while a marriage rots behind the walls. The bills were paid. The lawn was cut. The dishwasher ran every night. But the air between us had gone stale. One Thursday evening, she walked past me wearing a black coat and perfume too warm for a budget meeting. I asked when she would be home. She checked her reflection in the hallway mirror and said, "Do not wait up, Daniel." For words, soft as dust. But they settled on everything. The first time I heard Rachel turn me into a joke, I was standing 10 feet away with a bowl of tortilla chips in my hands. It was a Saturday night in October, the kind of cool Ohio evening where the windows fog at the edges and every house on the block smells faintly like chili, leaves, and furnace dust. Rachel had invited 3 women from work over, along with a couple of people I barely knew from her office. She called it a casual get-together, which meant I grilled burgers in the backyard, wiped down counters, carried drinks, and smiled at conversations that stopped whenever I got too close. I was used to that. In Rachel's new world, I had become the helpful husband in the background, the man who opened jars and found extra folding chairs. Around 9:30, I stepped into the hallway near the half bathroom and heard laughter spilling from the living room, loose and wine-warmed. Rachel's voice floated above it, bright and careless. Someone asked if I ever got jealous with all the men around her at work. Rachel gave a little laugh, the one I had started to hate, and said, "Daniel, he is too practical for jealousy. Honestly, cheating on him would be pointless. He is not even worth the guilt." The room burst open with laughter. I stopped so suddenly the chips shifted in the bowl like dry leaves. For a second, I felt ridiculous standing there, a grown man in his own hallway, holding snacks for people laughing at his marriage. My face did not move. That was the strange part. Inside, something folded in on itself, clean and quiet, but my body stayed calm. I heard one of her friends say, "Rachel, that is awful." But she was laughing when she said it. Rachel answered, "Oh, please. Daniel is safe. Daniel is dependable. Daniel would forgive a parking ticket if it apologized politely." More laughter. I looked toward the framed photo on the console table, the one from our wedding day. Rachel smiling under white lights, my hand resting at the small of her back like I had been chosen. 15 years later, I realized there are rooms where your name can be murdered without anyone raising their voice. I could have walked in. I could have embarrassed her back. I could have dropped the bowl and let the whole house feel what I felt. Instead, I stepped into the kitchen, set the chips on the counter, and washed my hands even though they were already clean. The water ran warm over my fingers. My reflection in the dark window looked steady, almost blank. That was the night I stopped trying to save the version of Rachel I remembered. That woman was gone. The one laughing in my living room had already packed her away. 3 nights after that party, the garage camera came back to life. I was not looking for proof when the alert hit my phone. That is what people never understand about betrayal. Sometimes the truth does not need to be hunted. Sometimes it walks directly under a motion sensor and waves at you in high definition. It was 10:48 on a Tuesday night. I was parked behind a distribution center in Grove City, waiting for a security panel to reboot while rain tapped against the roof of my work truck. My phone buzzed once, a routine notification from the old system at home. Garage entry detected. I almost ignored it. That camera had been installed 6 years earlier after someone stole a snowblower from a neighbor 2 streets over. It covered the side door, the tool bench, and the inside corner near the water heater. Rachel knew it existed. Or maybe she had forgotten. People forget the things they stop respecting. I opened the app with one thumb, expecting to see a raccoon, a loose branch, maybe Rachel taking out recycling. Instead, the screen brightened and there she was, stepping through the side door in her black coat, smiling over her shoulder at a man I recognized before my mind wanted to say his name. Evan Cole, sales director, smooth voice, expensive haircut, the kind of man who shook your hand while checking if someone more useful had entered the room. He followed her inside like he had been there before, holding 2 paper coffee cups from a place across town that Rachel claimed she hated because it was overpriced. She laughed at something he said, set her purse on my workbench, and leaned close enough for him to brush a strand of hair away from her face. Nothing graphic happened on that camera. Nothing that needed to. The betrayal was not in what the lens could not show. It was in how comfortable they were in my space. Evan picked up one of my screwdrivers, turned it in his hand, and said something I could not hear clearly. Rachel smiled and answered, voice clear enough for the microphone near the door to catch it. My safe little husband keeps everything organized. Safe little husband. The words landed beside the ones from Saturday night, stacking neatly, building something cold inside me. Evan laughed, then glanced toward the door into the house. Rachel took his hand and led him out of frame. The garage went empty. The fluorescent light hummed over my tools. I sat in the truck with my phone glowing in my palm, rain blurring the windshield, and felt my old life divide itself into before and after. I saved the clip. Then I downloaded the full file, backed it up to my laptop, and labeled it October 17th, Garage, Evan Arrival. I did not become angry in the way I expected. I became organized. That surprised me more than anything. I had always imagined that if Rachel crossed that line, I would fall apart in some loud, obvious way. Instead, I went quiet, the kind of quiet that comes over a job site when everyone realizes the blueprint is wrong and the foundation has already been poured. I drove home after midnight, parked 2 blocks away for 10 minutes, and watched the lights in my own house through rain-streaked glass. The bedroom was dark. The garage was closed. Everything looked normal, and that was what made it feel obscene. Normal had become a costume. The next morning, I made coffee, packed my lunch, kissed Rachel on the cheek because habit can move your body even after trust leaves it, and went to work with a flash drive in my pocket. By noon, I had built the first folder. Rachel. Inside that, I made 4 more. Timeline. Video. Receipts. Legal. I did not type notes like a jealous husband. I typed them like a systems report. October 17th, 10:48 p.m., garage entry detected. Evan Cole present. Rachel Whitaker present. Audio captured. File backed up locally and cloud archived. I pulled access logs from our home security app, not because I wanted to spy, but because the system had already recorded what happened at my property. I found 3 other late-night openings I had ignored in September. Side door, garage, garage again. Each one lined up with nights Rachel had told me she was at quarterly planning or grabbing dinner with the girls. Then I checked credit card statements. A parking garage downtown. A hotel bar near Easton. 2 rideshare charges from places she said she never went. None of it was enough alone. Together, it breathed. By Wednesday night, the folder had weight. I added screenshots, dates, locations, and a plain text document called Sequence of Events. No insults. No guessing. No dramatic language. Just facts stacked so cleanly they could not slip away. That was when I understood something my job had taught me for years. People lie with their mouths, but systems tell time. Cameras tell time. Receipts tell time. Door sensors tell time. Lies only survive when nobody bothers to line them up. Rachel came home that night humming, dropped her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, and asked why I was still awake. I looked up from the kitchen table, my laptop closed, my face calm enough to pass inspection. I said I had paperwork. She smiled like that answer bored her and went upstairs. I listened to her footsteps fade above me and realized the marriage was no longer a marriage. It was evidence waiting to be understood. The name Megan Cole first appeared on my screen at 12:32 on a Thursday morning, and somehow it made the room colder than any video Rachel had given me. Until then, Evan had been a shape in my marriage, a man with a company title, a clean haircut, and the kind of confidence that grows when nobody has ever made him explain himself. I knew his face from Rachel's holiday parties. I knew his voice from the garage clip. I knew enough to hate what he represented. But I did not know he had a house in Westerville, a golden retriever named Scout, and a wife who posted pictures of nursery paint samples with captions full of hope. I found Megan because Evan was not as careful as Rachel thought he was. A charge on Rachel's card led me to a restaurant near Polaris. A tag company photo led me to Evan's public profile. One click led to another, the way doors open when people mistake confidence for privacy. Then there she was. Megan Cole, 34 years old, kindergarten teacher, round-faced, bright-eyed, standing in front of a half-painted baby room with one hand resting on her stomach, and Evan beside her holding a paint roller like he had built the future himself. The caption read, 30 weeks today, counting the days until our little boy meets his dad. I stared at that sentence for a long time. My anger changed shape while I read it. It stopped being a fire pointed at Rachel and became something heavier, something with edges. There was a woman across town folding tiny clothes into drawers, washing baby blankets in fragrance-free detergent, probably writing thank you notes for a shower, while her husband walked into my garage like consequences were for other men. There was a child coming into the world already surrounded by a lie he did not ask for. I leaned back in my chair and listened to the refrigerator hum in the dark kitchen. Above me, Rachel slept like the house had not become a courthouse in slow motion. I opened a new folder and named it Megan. Then I closed it again. Not yet. That was the first clear thought I had. Not out of hesitation, but because truth delivered badly can look like cruelty. I needed to be precise. I needed to know what I could send, what I should send, and what would only cause pain without purpose. The next afternoon, I called Thomas Reed, a divorce attorney my coworker had once used and described as boring in exactly the way you want an attorney to be boring. Thomas listened without interrupting while I explained the camera, the timeline, the public information, the pregnant wife. When I finished, he said, "Keep it factual, keep it private, and do not threaten anyone." That sentence became my rule. No threats, no insults, no performance, just enough truth to end the lie. By Friday evening, the evidence fit on one silver flash drive and still felt heavier than anything I had carried in years. I sat at the kitchen table after Rachel left for what she called a regional strategy dinner, the same phrase she had used twice before, and watched the progress bar crawl across my laptop screen. One video clip, 3 screenshots, a simple timeline with dates, times, and locations. Nothing dramatic. Nothing edited to make it worse. The truth did not need help. It already had teeth. I wrote Megan a message 6 times and deleted it 6 times. The first version sounded too angry. The second sounded too sorry. The third sounded like a man trying to prove he was not the fool in his own story. By the 7th try, I found the only words that felt clean. Megan, my name is Daniel Whitaker. I am Rachel Whitaker's husband. I am sorry to contact you this way, but I believe you deserve to know the truth before your son is born. I have attached a short file and a timeline. I will not contact you again unless you ask me to. I am sorry. I read it once, then twice. Then I attached the files before courage could turn into negotiation. My finger hovered over the trackpad while the house breathed around me. The refrigerator hummed. The clock above the stove clicked one small second at a time. Somewhere outside, a truck rolled down Maple Ridge Court, tires whispering over wet pavement. I thought about Rachel laughing in our living room. I thought about Evan standing in my garage. I thought about Megan folding baby clothes under soft nursery lights, building a future out of cotton blankets and trust. Then I pressed send. No music swelled. No thunder cracked. The world did not tilt. The email simply left, quiet and irreversible, and I sat there staring at the empty sent box like a man watching a bridge disappear behind him. Megan called at 6:00 for the next morning. I had not slept. I was in my truck in the driveway with gas station coffee going cold in the cup holder when an unknown number lit up my phone. Her voice was softer than I expected, but it had that strained calm people use when the floor has vanished and they are pretending they can still stand. She asked if the files were real. I said yes. She asked how long I had known. I said long enough to verify before I hurt anyone else with it. There was a silence, then a breath that almost broke. She said, "I am 30 weeks pregnant, Daniel." I closed my eyes and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. "I know," I said. "That is why I sent it now." Megan did not ask me to comfort her, and I respected her too much to try. She asked for the timeline, the original file names, and whether Rachel knew I had sent them. I answered each question like Thomas Reed had taught me. Factual. Private. No threats. By noon, the truth had started moving without me. Evan called first. I let it ring. Then Rachel called. I let that ring too. The phone buzzed across my desk at work like a trapped insect while I reviewed a security report I had already read 3 times without understanding a word. At 3:18, Rachel sent one text. "We need to talk now." I looked at it for a long moment and felt nothing sharp, only the deep exhaustion of a man who had finally stopped carrying water for a burning house. When I pulled into the driveway after 5, her car was already there. The porch light was on even though the sun had not set. Inside, Rachel stood in the living room still, wearing her gray office dress, face pale, mascara smudged just enough to tell me she had been crying and just controlled enough to tell me she had rehearsed. My laptop sat open on the coffee table. The garage clip was frozen on the screen. Evan half turned toward the workbench, Rachel smiling at him like the house was theirs. For a second, none of us spoke. The refrigerator hummed from the kitchen. The furnace clicked in the hallway. Normal sounds, wrong day. Then Rachel said, "You sent it to her." Not a question, a charge. I set my keys in the ceramic bowl by the door. "Yes," I said. She shook her head like I had done something unthinkable. "She is pregnant, Daniel." Her voice cracked on the word pregnant, and something almost like anger warmed my chest. "I know," I said. "That was the point." Her face changed then. The tears gave way to panic. She said I had destroyed Evan's family, destroyed her career, destroyed everything over one mistake. One mistake. I looked at the screen, at the timestamp, at the weeks of lies stacked behind it, and I understood how people try to shrink disasters after they cause them. They call patterns mistakes. They call choices confusion. They call consequences cruelty. I reached into my messenger bag, placed Thomas Reed's envelope on the coffee table, and slid it toward her. Divorce papers. She stared at them like paper could bite. "You really want to throw away 15 years? She whispered. I thought about our first apartment, the barbecue wedding, the mortgage, the Sunday coffee, the 1,000 small repairs I mistook for love. Then I said, "No, Rachel. You threw them away one lie at a time. I'm just done cleaning up after it." She started to cry harder, but it no longer pulled me toward her. That was how I knew it was over. Not because I hated her, because I did not need her to understand me anymore. I picked up the silver flash drive from beside the laptop, dropped it into my coat pocket, and walked out before the house could teach me how to forgive one more thing that should never have happened.